Welcome to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I'm your host, Morgan Klein, co-founder and CEO, along with my husband and company visionary, Devin Klein.
And together, with our amazing team, we are going to help you push past your limits, not just physically in our gyms, but right here, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually on the Burn Bootcamp podcast.
Together, we will take on challenges and break through barriers to transform into the best possible version of ourselves. We are more than a gym. We are a community. Your community. Let's go, Burn Nation.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Burn Bootcamp podcast. I am your host, DK, and this is another amazing episode of Ask DK Anything. We have scrubbed the entire internet for your questions, your burning Burn Bootcamp questions, your fitness questions. This is all about me spending some time with you. I know it's one on many as you listen to the podcast, but it's really important to me that you and I, as we go through life together, that we build a relationship and that you really look at me as somebody who can help guide your decision making, your information gathering, and somebody trusted that's in your corner who has. I have products and services and things like that make your life better, and of course, we'll sell those things if you decide it makes your life better. But the advice that I give, the resources that we provide, have nothing to do with driving sales. It has nothing to do with anything other than giving you all the information you need to be an educated human being. I understand that education is knowledge, and knowledge is potential power, and I want to give you that power, and then it's up to you what you do with it. So we're gonna dive into 4 questions today that we took from Instagram, Devin at burnbootcamp.com or podcast at burnbootcamp.com. If you'd like to submit your questions, you could submit them at Instagram on Burn Bootcamp or my Instagram as well. And so we found your questions and we pulled together 4 of them. And so I'm really excited to answer them today and go in depth on each of these 4 topics. So I'm going to read the questions. I'm going to break down each answer, and that will be the duration of our podcast, and then we'll get you out of here today. Sound good? Make sense? Say yes? All right. So Leslie from Hurst, Texas asks, I catch myself holding my breath during some exercises, especially on strength days when I'm trying to lift heavier weight. What are some breathing techniques I could use to help me focus? We're going to talk about something called the Valsalva maneuver. Okay, that's question number 1. Number 2 is Amy from Voorhees, New Jersey. What are the most common mistakes that you see people making in the gym? Oh, I love this question. There's some obvious ones that stick out to me, and we're going to make sure that you are not doing some of those things when you're showing up to the gym every day and putting in that work. Cynthia, number 3, from Sussex, Wisconsin. What was your motivation behind creating Burn Bootcamp meals? How are they different than some other meal services and plans out there? That question could very easily be a trigger for me to promote, in which obviously we'll have Burn Meals and I'll talk about those. Really what I'm going to do is translate that question into my take on protein and why Burn Meals is the go-to source, the go-to business, the go-to service provider for all things healthy and all things protein. Okay, that's question number 3. Number 4, Sarah from Burlington, North Carolina. After listening to your episode last week, could you elaborate more on the 8 categories in the Burn lifestyle? And if you have heard me talk or you've read the Burn book, 5 Steps to Inner and Outer Strength, then you've heard me talk about the lifestyle of Burn Bootcamp and the 8 categories. And I'm going to elaborate on that for you guys today, okay? Sound like a good time? I think it does. I'm so excited to jump into Leslie's question first. Remember, podcast at burnbootcamp.com, devin.klein on Instagram, or Burn Bootcamp on Instagram if you'd like to get your question answered. And eventually what I'm going to do, because I really like doing this segment, is I'm going to ask for video submissions. So if you want to go ahead and just put a video submission into my DMs, that's the quickest place I'm going to find it on IG. Go ahead and put a video submission, and who knows, I might be pulling up your video on the podcast, so we can represent not only you, but your Burn Bootcamp location as well. All right, so let's get into the episode today, into the meat of it. We're going to answer Leslie's question from Hurst, Texas. Again, to repeat the question, I catch myself holding my breath during some exercises, especially on strength days when I'm trying to lift heavier weight. What are some breathing techniques I could focus on? It's a great question. What breathing techniques could I help focus on? Okay, so to help you do what I'm lifting heavier on strength days. So that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about breathing techniques to lift heavier on strength days. All right. There is this classic bodybuilder technique, Leslie, called the Valsalva maneuver. What the Valsalva maneuver is this has been around for a long time. I learned about this first when I was a trainer at Lifestyle Family Fitness in Naples, Florida, and I was training around a bunch of bodybuilders, and they would do this technique where on shorter sets, so like, pretty much like 80% of your max, if you're 1 rep max or of your 3 rep max, depending on how you want to look at it. I don't want to get too technical, but basically anytime you're lifting really heavy and you're under 10 reps is the way that I would think about using the Valsalva maneuver. You can also use it up to the 12 to 15 range, but you're going to have to use multiple Valsalva maneuvers in that scenario, and there's some cons to this as well. Let me just go over this, okay? So what is it first? It's a deep breathing technique that allows you to increase your internal pressure for a short duration of time to help get heavy weight up on low reps, or what we call at Burn Boot Camp to PR. You get a personal record. So let's talk about chest press, okay? So we just started at Burn Boot Camp, our second mesocycle. It started yesterday, and during this mesocycle, we're focused on 2 things. We're focused on a deadlift and a chest press. So we're going to get really good at deadlifts and chest press during the next until mid-March, okay? This goes from, I believe, right now, the 2nd to March 15th. Okay, that's our second of 9, by the way, that mesocycles or periods that will make up the annualized program here this year in 2025. And then we'll reset it next year. Okay, so now that you know that, you have 3 strength days, 3 conditioning days. When we show up to these strength days and we're looking at chest press and we're looking at hinge or deadlift, chest press obviously focusing on the human movement pattern push, and deadlifts focusing on the human movement pattern of hinge. What we're going to do is we're going to practice this maneuver. If you're advanced, okay, I don't want you practicing this. If you're in your first 30 days, okay, we need to get some reps under our belt. We need to connect our breathing in a more normalized way before we start manipulating breath. But I'm going to jump over that for this question because we only got about 30 minutes together this afternoon or this morning or this evening, whenever you're recording this or listening to this. I'm recording in the afternoon. So we are going to do the following with the Valsalva maneuver. Okay, you're going to approach the chest press, let's say. You're going to get that weight up on your body. You're going to take a big, deep breath in. You're going to hold that breath for a burst of 4 hardcore reps, 5 hardcore reps. All right, 5, 6, maybe 7, depends on how long it takes. You don't want to hold it too long because you have the risk of deoxygenation. You may be fainting if you hold your breath. So again, this is for advanced people, Leslie, and we need to get to know each other more personally if I am going to give you specific techniques. But I think what you're wanting to do is hit a PR, and the best way you could hit that PR is to either, if it's the short enough rep, maybe like the 5, 6, 7, 8 rep range, you can do 1 Valsalva maneuver. If it's into the 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 rep range, I wouldn't do it much past 15 because now we're going into the more muscular endurance category, and where it's like higher reps, and where the goal isn't hypertrophy or maximal muscle gain or strength anymore, not even strength, but maximal muscle engagement and gain. We stay in the hypertrophic range at Burn Boot Camp, and so most likely what you're going to do is 2 Valsalva maneuvers if you want to get that PR. And what that's going to look like for you, and I do this every time I'm on chest press, is I lay down. Before I even go to exert my force, I take a big, deep breath in. I roll my weights back on my chest. I go 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 reps. I hold it at the top. I breathe in again. I breathe out. Right? And then I breathe in again. Okay? And I tend to burst my reps like that. Now, you don't have to do it that way. The classic Valsalva maneuver is to go breathe in, hold internal pressure at the bottom, and then push out. Don't let go of that breath until you're past the sticking point, and then you let that breath out, okay? We don't want to overdo the Valsalva maneuver, people, because what we're going to do is engage our sympathetic nervous system, that kind of flight mechanism. So, obviously, like, you're going to have this sense of, like, I got to get this weight up when you're doing this maneuver. That's what that really means. Like, there's no other choice. Like, I'm in it. I got to get this weight up. but more importantly, like just the central nervous system fatigue that can come from doing this too much. Okay, people will say, if you read this like classically in a textbook, they'll say Valsalva maneuvers are not for hypertrophy, but my experience and practical teachings have showed me that the Valsalva maneuver can help people PR when they're advanced, when they do it multiple times within a set to complete that set. Okay, so a lot of times, if you're a bodybuilder or you're like a power lifter, which like 99.99% of you are not, you're gonna do it more by the book. But you can manipulate these breathing technique. All it is a breathing technique to help increase internal pressure, so that you can get the weight up. But then you need to make sure that you're not doing it too often. You can overload your motor neurons, and you end up doing some damage to the central nervous system that way. But the more practical thing, I want to keep you safe. And so if you're holding your breath too much without a lot of practice, then you're going to risk that deoxygenation. You're going to risk maybe fainting, which we definitely do not want to do with big weights in our hands. So take this advice, Leslie, with caution. Make sure that you discuss this with your trainer. And the best thing to do if you're really trying to PR, my opinion, this is what I do in camp. If I'm going to attempt a PR, is I say, hey Bees, or I say, hey Treadway, or Painter if she's my trainer. I say, hey Painter, listen, I need you on my second set today because I'm going to go all for it, okay? And she knows ahead of camp that on my second set, she's going to come over and support me. And we're going to do that maneuver together. So talk about that with your trainer. By the way, this is not one size fits all. It's a maneuver. There's lots of other breathing techniques. I just thought this was the one that, in the context of Burn Boot Camp, what we're after is PRs, can help you, Leslie, the most. And hopefully it helps the rest of you as well. If you need me to elaborate on this, if you'd like to know more, hear more, other techniques, if you'd like to debate the Valsalva maneuver technique, then you can do that through devin.klein on Instagram or podcast@burnbootcamp.com, the two destinations for me to hear your voice, okay? Number 2, again, this one comes from Amy out of our Voorhees, New Jersey location. And she asks, what are the most common form mistakes you see people making in the gym? Great question. Most common form mistakes. Okay, I'm going to take this question, Amy, just one level higher, and I'm going to say common mistakes, and I'm going to have form as one of them. But I want to do common mistakes, because common mistakes, I think, have a more interesting, kind of juicy conversation. I think it can bring a thought or two to help kickstart your own thinking to you if you need it. All right, so the 3 most common mistakes. Hang with me here, Amy, okay? It's going to be number 1, this concept of the methods of training. I'm going to talk about the methods of training and how form, load, and rep manipulation in that order is a mistake that I see a lot. I see a lot of people mixing up that order and not following the proper methods of training. Okay, you're not going to find this in a textbook. This is Burn Boot Camp. This is my experience. This is my knowledge coming together, and me taking something complex like, trying to like progressive overload and putting that into a simple concept with 3 bullet points underneath the method of training, form, load, rep manipulation. That's mistake number 1. Number 2 is going to be, I see people shying away from actual failure. Actual failure is number 2. And then number 3 is speed and expectation of faster, faster, faster. So I'm going to go through all these really quickly, Amy, for you, okay? And for the rest of Burn Nation here. Okay, so number 1, methods of training. You might have heard your burn trainer talk about this before. This is this is common knowledge with all 3,000 of us. And what you're going to see sometimes is us adding more weight to you, all right? So if we see you, performing the movement with proper form, then we're going to load you up, okay? So proper form comes first. We don't need to be adding weight if we don't have proper form, okay? Form is going to inform the best rep possible. Great form will inform the great rep. Makes sense? Say yes. So we want to make sure that that body weight version of a squat is pristine. It's perfect. We might need to do some corrective exercise. We might need to do some stability ball work. We might need to do some wall chairs. We might need to do some glute engagement. We might need to fix a posterior, anterior hip shift or tilt, or some asymmetrical hip alignment in the frontal or sagittal planes. We might need to do those things. Okay, in which kind of parlays right into the levels that we have. If you're a new member and you come to Burn Boot Camp, we're not throwing you right into hypertrophy. Okay, there's levels to this optimal performance training model that we have. Okay, let me just briefly explain this so that you might be able to maybe ask questions about it. I'm not going to cover it in depth here, but it is something that I want you to know. When a new member comes in, our goal is to get them on the hypertrophy highway, right? All Burn Bootcamp members, right? All our goals collectively, although everybody has a slightly different goal, it's to gain more muscle mass and it's to be leaner. We call that athletic. We grow your musculature and reduce your body fat, right? There's not some obscene maximum strength powerlifting goal. If that's your goal, you're not coming to Burn. Or most oftentimes, if you're like a bodybuilder and you're a professional bodybuilder, not an amateur, and you need to do certain regimens, you're not going to be at Burn. So I'm going to speak to the everyday fitness enthusiast like myself, the everyday trainer that isn't into those types of sports, but they're more here for the lifestyle, to live and maintain a healthy lifestyle because we want to create more memories with our family and enjoy our quality of life. And the best way we believe to do that is to take care of our health, which ultimately informs our energy, which informs our emotion, which informs our language, and ultimately our quality of life. Okay. When you come in, you're not going to start at hypertrophy. You're going to have this on-ramp onto the hypertrophy highway. It starts through number one, the entry-level layer is called muscular stability. If somebody comes in and they can't perform a proper squat, their knees are kind of going in and out. Okay, valgus we call it. It's a knee valgus. They cave in, or they might forget the term for when they go out, but there's another term for when they go out. And as you're squatting, your hips are shifting, and you see squat people kind of, if you're watching this, they're squatting wobbly, right? That's called lack of proprioception. Proprioception is just a fancy way of saying, where's my body in space and time? Am I aware of my spatial reference to my body? You ever see somebody who just, their body doesn't really look like it's coherent in space and time? They just don't really have like good, motor unit functionality. They don't necessarily, have like control of, their gait, meaning the way they walk and things like that. Okay, good. Then you should exercise because that it's going to increase motor neuron functionality. It's going to help your central nervous system become more, how would you say, conditioned for the human movement patterns. So you come in first and you get stability, right? Stability might just be isolating, isometric movements, even isolation movements where it's high rep range. We're not even using load yet. We're not even using external weight. You're just getting your form right. We do a few weeks, a few months maybe of that, depending on who you are, what your background is. Our trainers are all trained on these. They got to pass Burn University. They got to pass their NASM. There's multiple barriers of entry to be a Burn Bootcamp trainer. We're just not getting no people off the streets to come in and train here at our facilities and our program because we all have to know this stuff. Okay, so then once we get through this endurance phase and now my proprioception starts to get better, now I can start adding lighter load. Okay, now that my form's good, and I can get into the next phase, which is muscular endurance. 15 reps or more, high rep ranges, 20 reps, a lot of body weight conditioning type stuff, okay, using your body as resistance, all right? Then we get up right into the next step, okay, into maximum muscular gain, which is hypertrophy. That's what we want to do. That's the on-ramp or the first two. Stability first, endurance second. Then that hypertrophy rep range, that 15 reps down to 6 reps, that range there is where we are going to live as Burn Bootcamp members, okay? And we are going to perform what's called progressive overload. You might hear this as mesocycles. These mesocycles There's 9 of them in 2025, and each one of those mesocycles has 2 or 3 human movement patterns that we're focused on. Chest press is the push, deadlift is the hinge starting right now. We're going to track those things for a period of time in this mesocycle or training phase. And we're going to keep track of those 12 reps, and we're going to add, as long as our form's good, more load to those reps throughout the period. So that way we can actually ensure by tracking these exercises that we're getting stronger, because you do not lift more weight in the same rep range unless your body has adapted and you become stronger. So then you stay in this hypertrophy phase, right? And, at Burn Boot Camp, we don't go to the next phase, which is 5 reps and under. We're not going to maximal strength phase. We're not doing that. Why? Because that's where bodybuilders, power lifters, that's where you're going to live if you need power output for sport. What we're going to do is skip right over that, okay, into the power phase, which is not what a lot of people think it is. This is plyometric. This is sprinting. This is double unders. These are powerful movements, explosive movements where you're applying maximal force output. You know what I'm saying? So then at the end of these periods, the end of these mesocycles, what we have at the end of these, you have this progressive overload. As we get further and further and further into this ideology here at Burn Boot Camp, you're going to start to see the last week or 2 of these phases. Over time, they're going to start to incorporate these power phases. So you'll have a hypertrophy and power phase. So imagine a back squat with heavy weight, 8 to 15 reps, superset with a jump squat. Right after, back to back, followed by a rest. Okay? So I wanted to take just a moment to explain the hypertrophy highway, how we onboard a new member, how we get to hypertrophy, how we then keep you there. We get you to the next level through periods, through these mesocycles, by adding power movements to the hypertrophic movements. This is what I would do with the Chippewas, with the San Francisco Giants. I mean, this is the first group fitness organization that's done this at scale. And so I wanted to just explain that while we're on the common mistakes. So I'm not going to lose you, I promise. I'm coming back to the common mistakes. I'm on number 1 still. I'm talking about methods of training, form, load, rep manipulation. But I just explained to you how we're getting you through good form into the phase of load. So if you're at camp and you're new and everyone else has weights but you don't yet, you're still your form needs work still, and we're going to keep working on getting your form better. Then once it's better, we're going to have external load for that hypertrophic rep range, because that's where we live for the most part. Even when we apply power movements, superset with strength movements, we're still in that hypertrophic rep range, 6 to 15 reps. I'm gonna elaborate on that in point 2. But you load up, and then from there we manipulate reps. And so what I see the mistake here is that we get this mixed up. We try to go into the gym and we try to put load into our hands before form's good. And then oftentimes, and I'll see trainers make this mistake too, less in Burn and more elsewhere, because I know that we're specifically trained on this, is I will see rep manipulations, meaning like a pulse. Let's use the squat for an example. I'll see a pulse, like a triple pulse squat. I'll see that be incorporated before external load. Remember, it's period is progressive overload for the phase we're in right now is chest press and deadlift for maximum load in 12 reps, right? That's the goal, is to PR for 12 reps with maximum load. We're not trying to PR with how much weight we can hold and how many pulse squats we can do. Okay, rep manipulation is reserved for increasing the stressor on the muscle after load has already existed. Let me give you an example. Back to our squat. Your form's good. We're through that phase. I'm loading you up. I see that your first set, you're getting to, I can see your first 4 reps, you're going to get to 12, no problem. And so what I can do is 2 things, right? Number 1, I should do this first, I should put more load on you, okay? I should put more external weight on you. If I read that you aren't going to have actual failure in 12 reps, not actual failure, not perceived failure, or I don't feel like doing this failure anymore, but actual like physical failure where you're trying your hardest and the arm isn't, or the squat or the leg just isn't contracting anymore. It's done. It is taxed out. Okay, we want to get to that point where we put some load on you. So let's say 4th rep, I do that, you have 20s, I give you 30s, and then by your 8th rep, it's like 9th rep, 10th rep, that's not going to be it. You're right. You need more. You actually needed 45s. I misread it. What then I'm going to do for the last few reps so I can do what's most important, which is engage that muscle belly, time under tension. This is what rep manipulation is for, using time to manipulate the reps to maximize our efficiency when load has been exhausted or there's no time left. So what I might do is say, okay, you have body, let's go through it one more time. You have the form's down. I see you're at rep 4. You're lifting 20s. I think you can squat 30s. I gave you 30s, but you really could have squatted 45s. But you get to rep 10, and I have you, because I know you can do more, and I'm not going to get you to failure unless I manipulate your rep. I'm going to drop you down, and I'm going to have you hold that squat at the bottom. I'm going to have you finish with an isometric hold at the bottom, right? And I'm going to have the last 3 reps have extra time under tension with the isometric hold at the bottom. That's one version of rep manipulation. I could add pulses at the bottom, etc. You get my point, though, right? Form, load, rep manipulation. The most common mistake, number 1, that I see is we don't understand the methods of training, and we try to go either load up form that isn't great yet, and I use great specifically, not good, but great form. We want to load up great form, so that'll keep us safe for the long run. The better your form is, the more it's going to inform your results and your goals, okay? So that's the biggest mistake I see. I know that was a long one, but I wanted to take a detour during the middle of that just to really explain the hypertrophy highway, or the optimal performance training model that we have. So then I'll go quickly on the second 2 under our second question here. So number 2, actual failure is what I see. So like now that I've explained number 1, number 2, and 3, we'll go fast. The second mistake I see is actual failure. The perception of I don't feel like doing this anymore. This is getting pretty hard, versus I physically can't do this anymore. So there might be a mistake or here's a common mindset that I've heard. And this is like a paraphrased quote from like Burn Nation. If I were to take, thousands of interactions that I've had around this specifically and like paraphrase it down into like one sentence, people would say to me, I just am not feeling confident yet because I can't do the whole workout without stopping. They'll say something to me like that. And they'll have a perception that the outcome is only good if I don't stop. When in reality, the outcome, it's the exact opposite. I know it's counterintuitive because we're taught that failure everywhere else in life is a bad thing, which also isn't true. That's a cat we can skin another day. But it's not good to do the whole workout without stopping. That means you're not reaching proper failure, especially on a strength day. And on a conditioning day, you're not reaching VO2 max. If you can do the whole thing without stopping, that means you're not pushing your anaerobic threshold. You're not increasing the level of lactate that your body is outputting. You're not increasing the brain-derived neurotropic factor that you can generate from a high level of lactate. You're not doing those type of things if you aren't pushing it to failure. So fitness that's the best like analogy for life in general is the failure in fitness. Like how failure is like a fundamental pillar to making gains in your fitness journey. It's a fundamental pillar in life, right? We show up in the gym. We show up in the gym and we work hard to failure. You gotta show up every day and you gotta push it in your life until something fails. Because if you're not pushing it, you're not finding out how you can break it. You're not finding out how far you can take it. And you don't want to live life on anybody else's terms other than your own. And you don't know your own terms. You don't know your own limits unless you push them, unless you break them, unless you find them. That's what we're doing in the gym. I promise you, if you show up and you go to actual real failure, the character that you'll have to build to do that in the gym, the discipline, the energy, the conviction, the commitment, I'm going to get to this failure no matter what mindset, that mindset has no other choice than to manifest itself subconsciously elsewhere. In other words, you don't have to worry about the mind-body connection when you show up to the gym and you go to failure. It'll just happen. Okay? It'll just happen. The last point on number 2 here, like go to actual failure, is you need rest to get results. Ladies and gentlemen, we need recovery. We need rest to get results. Are you hearing me loud and clear? We shouldn't be going the entire time. You shouldn't pride yourself on going the whole workout. You should pride yourself on bursts of hardcore effort followed by recovery. Okay? Because we got to have time for ATP to replace. We got to have time to clear metabolic waste. These are all the scientific things, right? We got to have time to avoid motor neuron fatigue, let's say. Okay? So it's not a good thing to go the whole time. That's the second mistake that I see people making, is not pushing it hard enough and then taking proper rest periods. There's something that's like a extension of that. If you work out twice a day on a routine basis, you have work to do in this category of understanding form, load, rep manipulation, failure, and putting everything you have into one 45-minute session, maybe doing a little bit on top of that. We've done some super finishers before. We've done some extra mile challenges before, like, things you could do in 10 or 15 minutes just to kind of supplement that routine that you just did. But if you're showing up and you're working as hard as we do in Burn and you're going longer than 45 minutes, then you're probably not getting what I'm talking about. So go ahead and DM me, ask questions, podcast@burnbootcamp.com, Devin Kleinett on IG, okay? The third thing, the third most common mistake I see is people saying, I need to go faster. Devin, I need to go faster. It's not happening quick enough, DK. Okay? This is, by the way, if anything that any goal that you set out for yourself, if you think faster is a strategy, I promise you that goal is likely not going to happen, barring miracle. Faster is the worst word you could use. Faster is giving in to temptation. Faster is false expectations. Faster is it's the antidote to good. You ever hear you could have I'll build you anything you want, right? I can make it good, I can make it fast, or I can make it cheap. But I can't do all three. I can make it good, I can make it fast, but I can't do that for cheap. I can make it cheap, I can make it fast, but I can't do that good. Right? I forget the last one, but you get my point. And so speed usually, most often, on almost every goal, something that you want to happen faster is probably going to put you in the wrong perspective to actually do it in a reasonable time frame. There's a balance between patience or vision. I'll use those two words as synonyms, and then I'll use urgency and getting shit done as synonyms, right? So you have this like world where you have this vision of the stars, right? And it is very clear, and you can see it, and that excites you, right? But you know that that's not going to happen today, so there's a level of patience that is apparent when you are painting a vision for yourself in the future. You know you're not going to have it today. If it's strong enough vision, it's going to be something enchanting that's going to pull you forward into the vision. That's that pull motivation I talk about in our book, Burn, the 5-Step Strategy to Inner and Outer Strength, available on Amazon or in gym. You then have to couple that with urgency, right? So it's oxymoronic in a way, like patience and urgency. So DK, like, what are you saying? Like go fast but go slow? Exactly, right? Go fast to get things done on a daily basis, but go slow and take time to make sure that what you're doing every day is reverse engineered, or you're working back down to, hey, is this actually fit into the vision of my life? In other words, you want a life directed by you. You want a life on your terms. And if you don't have a vision, if you don't have that long-term vision where you are applying it to the degree in which you are forcing patience, meaning it's an enchanting enough vision that you're putting it out in the future, and it's motivating enough that you're willing to wait, but then also simultaneously waking up every day, having a get shit done list, having urgency around getting those things done today that are going to help you get to that future place. Like, if you're talking about speed in the sense of urgency, I'm all for it. If you're talking about speed in the sense of vision, we got to have that conversation, right? So speed can't be applied uniformly to everything. It's got to be nuanced. Most people use it as a replacement for their vision. Oh, I got this big deal I want to do, and I'm going to do it all, and we're going to change the game, but we got to do it now. We got to do it now. We got to do it faster. No. Changing the game takes time. Greatness takes time. Changing your mindset, changing the future of your family, being the person that breaks the chain of poverty, being the person that breaks the chain of unhealthy habits in your family, being that fire started, being the stopgate. That's the vision. If that's enchanting for you and you're the leader of your family, you're gonna reroute the family's trajectory, and you're gonna impart core values because you've never had core values before. And right, this stuff takes time to think through. It's not something to be taken lightly, and you've got to have a lot of patience. You cannot apply speed to vision, but you can apply speed to urgency and to getting shit done and attacking everything with vigor and effort and conviction and effort. How you do one thing, my friends, is how you're going to do everything. Think about that. How you do math homework with your son is how you're going to show up in the gym. It's how you're going, over time, the little things that condition us, the small wins, if we're not focused on small wins in this urgent moment, we're never going to do what I call force multiply small wins, right? Add up the small wins. Each one of those wins by themselves isn't groundbreaking, but when you add all those wins up, it now becomes, boom, life-altering, earth-shattering breakthroughs. Follow what I'm saying there? Those are the three biggest mistakes that I see in the gym. And if you guys know anything about me, if you ask me a question at Devin Klein on Instagram or at podcast@burnbootcamp.com, you ask me a question, I could really probably spend 4 hours on each one of these questions. We'll just keep going, but I can't do that. So I'm trying to be concise. I'm trying to have a spirit of time here in mind, because I want you to get information quickly, and I want that information to be actionable so it can make a difference in your life today. So this is called a question burst. I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, and the idea of this is to just listen, and whatever sticks out to you, I want you to grab onto that question, and I want you to think about the answer. Or if you're not driving in your car, write the answer down, all right? So far, what have you heard that can make your life better? What are you missing? Is it a feeling? Is it emotion? Do you feel congruent as a human being? Are your workouts consistent? How does that affect your mindset? How does your mindset, your attitude, your efforts and beliefs, how does that affect your emotion, your belief system? How does your belief systems affect your emotions? In what ways can fitness impact your life in a positive way? Am I allowing myself to make the connection between emotional and mental health and physical fitness? Am I showing up with an open heart to that connection every day? Do I actually realize how important failure is? Am I failing, or am I just going to the point to where it's pretty hard? What would happen to me as a human if I just did those extra reps? What would happen to my fitness if I did those extra reps? Who would I become? Would I like the person that I would become better than the person I am today? This is all self-awareness work, question bursting. Do you see this thought process? Hopefully there was something there that you could pick up on, that you could extract, that you could answer, that would help you. Because here's what I know. If you want to have a better quality of life, ask better questions, and you're going to get better answers. Okay? So we're going to go 2 more questions today. All right. Cynthia from Sussex, Wisconsin location asks, what was your motivation behind creating Burn Meals? How are they any different than some of the other meal services out there? Okay. The motivation behind the meals is really the following, is that Burn Bootcamp, we are all about results. Results over everything. Results are our resumes. When our trainers come to Burn University and they tell me all the credentials they have, the exercise science, the NASM degree, the ACE nutrition degree, the corrective exercise specialist degree. Listen, mad respect for the paper. The paper is a representation of your discipline and your ability to see a goal, go get a goal. You've got these credentials, great. But I will tell you the following. I've trained over 15,000 individual camps, hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Here's what I found. Based on my experience, nobody cares about my plaque. Nobody cares about my degree. Nobody cares about my credentials. What they care about is what I can do for them. What they actually care about is how can I help them feel better? People want to feel better. They just want you to help them feel better. If you can do that, then you're going to get results. So your resume as a trainer becomes results, not paper. Follow what I'm saying? So results are our resume. We're all about the results. We can't out-train a bad diet. And that's what we were trying to do. And I would go around, and this is just a human thing. We try to outwork our poor nutrition choices, right? And why do we make poor nutrition choices? Because life is busy. Because we are busy. It's either that. We make poor choices because we don't have the knowledge on how to make proper choices, which I think is largely BS. I think it's largely BS outside of maybe some outlier cases. And here's why. Because don't you know that a salad is more healthy than a cupcake? Like, at what point is healthy eating just intuitive? Like, at what point do you know a whole plate of pasta is, in the way it makes you feel, is less healthy than a chicken Caesar salad in the way it makes you feel? Like, it's pretty practical in terms of that line. It's pretty clear intuitively. It becomes unclear intuitively if we don't want to face the character issues that we have that are stopping us from making those decisions. We don't want to become the person that eats the chicken Caesar salad at dinner over the plate of pasta, 2 glasses of wine, and a brownie because we're scared of who we have to become. You're not sure if you can become the person that has that level of discipline. The uncertainty or variety is a human need. Some people really need variety. Like me, I thrive on variety. Some people need a little bit of variety because we all need it, but the certainty is their number one category. They need certainty. Okay, so almost no one gets protein because they're not getting their meals because it's busy. And so what we wanted to do is going back to results or our resume, is help our members get the results. Okay, help them educate themselves, help them cut time in half. Full time. Time does not, it works for you. You don't work for time, right? So if I can provide, let's just say, meals that are fresh, never frozen, that are all high in protein, and if I can couple those meals with our protein powder, okay, with our supplements, with our bars, and I could say, hey, I'm going to give you a meal plan that is a Burn Nutrition meal plan that says, here's the meals you eat, here's the supplements you take, and when you eat those meals in this combination, you don't need to worry about your calories, your macronutrients, right? I want to educate you on those, but you don't need to count those things. You don't need to worry about how high in protein you are. All of the before, during, and after fitness-specific nutrition products that we create are designed to drive results for you. This isn't just a supplement company or a meal company. This is a results company. We combine fitness with nutrition holistically, both in meal form. Most importantly, whole food nutrition. Supplements are called supplements for a reason. They're meant to supplement or fill in the gaps of the whole food nutrition. In our smoothie bars, this has always been, which is the convenient post-workout smoothie play. All of these have been a part of Burn Nutrition. Our newest kind of activated piece of that is the meal business. It's going really, really well. The meals are about $12.50 if you're buying a 12 or a 6-pack on average. It's about the same as lunch at Jimmy John's or lunch at Jersey Mike's, or we tried to make it comparative to the other things you're going to buy. It's not going to be as cheap as going to the store, buying all the same ingredients, spending 4 hours on a Sunday meal prepping, making 15 meals for the week. Definitely not going to be cheap, but what you would pay for is the thought process, the convenience, the packaging, the delivery, the mental space that you get back from just being able to see food, eat food. Okay? We've constantly, for decades, people have constantly tried to out-train a bad diet, like I said, and that is like trying to mop a wet floor that has a leak in the roof. It's like you're just going to keep mopping. Like no amount of mopping that you're going to do is going to give you a dry floor. No amount of, like training you're going to do is going to clean up, or overcompensate for a bad diet. Hopefully you get my silly metaphors. But we're all about results. Results are our resume. Protein over everything. Results over everything. Almost no one gets protein, so then everything becomes protein. It's fresh, never frozen. And then we put it on self-managed auto ship, so you could save a little bit of money on it. You get a 5% discount if you put it on auto ship. And then those meals are self-selected. We have dozens of SKUs. It's constantly always rotating, and you get to choose your SKUs. It's like Chewy.com. If you order dog food from Chewy.com, it's a self-managed auto ship program. You can kick things into the future, skip one. I'm out of town this next week. I don't want to take my shipment. You got to order these meals, put your meals orders in by Sunday, okay, so that you can get them for the next week, all right? That is a little bit about the motivation behind meals. And let me just say this. I consume 2 to 3 Burn Nutrition meals a day. I have 2 Afterburn shakes a day. I'm collagen every day. I'm Ignite every day. Creatine every day. Collagen most days. Replenish when I feel like it. My body, I'm under 200 pounds for the first time in a long time. Maybe like, I don't know, 6 or 7 years. I'm feeling really good. Nothing changed about my lifestyle at all, other than I replaced making my meals for buying my meals. I'm putting on an auto ship. They're showing up to my house. I don't have to think about it. They're ready for me. And I'm good at meal prepping too, but I wasn't always consistent because of the busy nature of my lifestyle. And so sometimes I'm out of town on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And when I get back, it's Monday, and I can meal prep that night, but I'm stuck for that day. You follow me? So it's just things like that where life gets ahead of you, and I forget. But with this, it's just meal prep is done for you. It's turnkey. So that was our motivation. And we're open to feedback about the program, and we're looking forward to doing more and more and more with Burn Nutrition and our memberships there. So any questions about that, Devin, on Instagram, and also podcast at burnbootcamp.com, like we mentioned, okay? I'm going to go into the last question of the day. This one, you're inevitably going to have some, you're inevitably going to have some questions that stem off of this. So after listening to last week's episode, there was a ton of questions in my inbox around the burn lifestyle. And so Sarah from Burlington, North Carolina, was listening last week, and she asked, hey, DK, can you just elaborate a little bit more on the 8 categories in the burn lifestyle? Can you clarify these things for me? And we could listen. I'm currently building right now a workshop for you all, and to be released at a further date and time. And I'm building this workshop to cover the burn lifestyle in totality. And that workshop is going to be an interactive 4-hour workshop. Okay, for this stuff. So I can cover this in depth, and it takes the burn lifestyle, and it takes me 4 hours to unpack every nuance of it. And I'll do that for you over time, okay? But I'll give you kind of like the cover page today. And as I'm going through this, I want you to really, again, keep your mind open for curiosity. If questions are the answer to life, if better questions get better answers, then the more curious you can be, the better you're going to be able to find the question and ultimately the answer you're looking for. So my point is, listen up close, grab a pencil, grab a pen, write really intelligent questions down that come to mind, send them to me, because we're going to continue to elaborate on this framework here on the podcast, and this is something that isn't going anywhere. I'm going to teach you exactly how to go from the lifestyle that you lead now into the burn lifestyle. The burn lifestyle is broken down into 8 categories. Okay, 4 categories are what we call you, or the inner world, or the things that you can control. The other set is the outer world, or the world around you, or the things necessarily that people try to control but can't necessarily, other than their own reaction to the circumstances of the world. Follow me? So 4 categories for you, 4 categories for the world. Together, these 2 make the 8. That's the Burn Boot Camp lifestyle. That's the first step. All right, now let's break these down. The inner world, okay, between the 4 walls of your mind. What goes on here? Okay, the 4 walls of your body. The 4 walls of your mind, your emotion, your spirit. Body, mind, emotion, spirit. These are you. Your physical body, the vessel, the temple. The only one you get. Your most important, precious asset. Your physiology. Okay? This is in order, by the way. This one is the most important. Your physiology is in the way that you are handling your physiology to put you in states of mind and emotion and spirit is fundamental. You ask me, what's the best way to get in a better mood? Move your body. What's the best way to move myself up the map of consciousness into positive emotion rather than negative emotion? Well, all emotion is motion with energy, so go move your body and you're going to get positive emotion. How do I master my body? Well, as I go through each of these 8 categories, what I'm going to do is give you one daily thing that I do as a starting place in order to ensure that I have habits on a daily basis or rituals on a daily basis that maybe they start as habits, but because I do them every single day, they become ritualistic, and you become a byproduct of your rituals. Your character is a byproduct of your rituals. So for me, number 1, body, the most important thing. Everything starts and stops with your physiology. The anchor to your life is a 45-minute workout. That's me. The anchor to my life is 45 minutes a day. My philosophy on life is eat, train, recover, repeat. Eat, train, recover, repeat. Eat, train, recover, repeat. Not pills, fads, potions, diets, shots. Do for a short period of time and then figure it out. That's not it. I'm going to repeat this daily habit of training, not exercise. That's unplanned, undirected activity. I'm talking about training, directed activity, goal-oriented activity, mesocycles, human movement patterns, trackable exercises, PRs. And 1 time a day, every day, an immovable anchor to your schedule in which everything else, because it's the most important thing you could possibly do with your time, everything else revolves around that anchor for you on a daily basis. I want you to start with some activity if you need to, walking around, going, taking a 30-minute walk. I want you to graduate into exercise, undirected, slightly more vigorous, moderate to intense exercise. And I want you to graduate into training, a training program, a fitness, nutrition, holistic, well-rounded training program with goals on a yearly, phase, a monthly basis, a weekly basis, and a daily basis. That is how you're going to get your life going in the direction that you want it to go. Number 2, the thing that's most immediately affected by the decision to make your daily workout an anchor for you is your resilience, is your mindset, is your attitude, your effort, and belief. This is how I define mindset. It is the collection of your belief systems, the collection of your beliefs, and the effort and attitude that you apply to said beliefs. Resilience, to me, is a big word that comes to get when I think of mindset. Okay, mind is different than emotion. Emotion is a state that you're in. A mindset is a decision that you make. You can use your mindset to get you into a new state, meaning every single day that I possibly can. This is the majority of the days, not every day. I jump in that damn cold tub. Do you know how much I like, I hate the cold tub. I hate it with a passion. Do you know why I hate it? Because it's freezing cold water, and I don't like it. I don't like it. But do you know what loves it? My mindset loves it. My resilience loves it. My attitude loves it. My effort loves it. My mindset bucket is anchored by that cold plunge because of the fact that we don't want to do it. It's not something that's comfortable. No matter what, if I look at myself in the mirror and I'm having that conversation, that inner dialogue, and I say, you know what, DK, you're going in that water. And then the other version of me is going to be like, dude, that water's pretty cold. And I'm going to be like, good, exactly why you're going in. But shouldn't we think about like going in because it's like too cold, right? Like, couldn't we get like, no, we're not going to think. That's how people get caught up. They think too much. We're going to go do. We're going to bypass thinking. We're going to start doing. And then you just go do it. You jump in the water. You stay there for 2 minutes or you take a cold shower. This does the same thing, by the way, so you have access to this. Just take a cold shower. That is one fundamental thing that I do every day. When I'm on the road and I don't have access to cold plunge, I'm taking a cold shower. And it's 2 minutes minimum. Anybody can just jump in. I'm going for 2 minutes because of the resilience it's going to create inside of my body. I then become a person that can do anything no matter what. That is my mindset and an anchor strategy for you on a daily basis. And if you do that enough as a habit, it will not be a ritual in the first 30 days that you do it, right? The first 30 days is the honeymoon period. Day 30 through 90, that's when it starts to become a ritual. When you feel the mental resiliency start to manifest into your emotion. The next category, 3. Emotion is your emotional intelligence or self-awareness, your EQ, your ability to observe what state you are in, and your ability to make decisions. Okay, back to decisions intertwined with mindset. Decisions to get yourself in a different state, because when you get yourself in a different state, you have a different worldview, right? When you have a different worldview, you have a different story. Pandemic happens in the fitness industry, every CEO is panicking. Every CEO is panicking. What are we going to do? Your state was determined by the belief system that you had. The mindset you had was determined by your state. And they're interdeterminantal. Is that a word? Interdeterminating? Is that a word? I don't know if that's a word, but they are reciprocal of one another. So when I make a decision to be in a different state, I got to go do something to get in that different state. But my state informs the story that I tell, the worldview that I have, the belief systems that I have, right? So I go jump in that. Let's just say I'm all up in my feelings about here's a good example. I'm telling myself I have no time. I'm all up in my feelings about everyone sucking my own time away from me. Work, my kids, my husband, my wife, my spouse, a new puppy I have. I have literally no time to work out. And when I don't work out, I feel miserable, but I don't have time to work out because I just don't have it. And I'm going to be miserable. Okay, that's a pretty lousy state to be in, right? You guys would agree with that? It's a lousy state to be in. You're not, how inspired and invigorated are you going to be in that state? Probably not very, right? Now insert right after I go do the hardest 45-minute workout where my dopamine's rushing, I'm in a completely different mindset, a state, because I went out and I shifted my energy. That's what I did by working out hard. I shifted my energy. I started firing up this chemical cocktail, and now all of a sudden, I feel different. I got a different state. Now all of a sudden after the workout, hey, man, I feel wonderful. This working out thing isn't so hard. I don't feel so miserable anymore. Man, I could do this every day, right? And that starts to create momentum. You're going to project your state before you go into a workout, right? This is what happens. And then we go into the workout. 5 minutes in, we're over that state. Now we're so glad that we're in a new state. Now we can conquer anything. And after the workout, you're going to call everybody and tell everyone how amazing life is. And then life's going to punch you in the mouth that night at 9:30. Something bad's going to happen. You're going to get back into a state of negativity, right? And this is the cycle, right? This is called, every human goes through this. Now, what we're trying to do is the following. We're trying to limit the refraction of that negative emotion. In turn, we're trying to limit the amount it cascades into your life, and the amount of time that you feel that emotion, the time that you're in that state. So now I can get in a negative state. I can get in a state in which my worldview is like, oh, that's everything, blah, 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 all negative. You know, the kind of negative Ned you could get to, or negative Nance. And it's like, no. That's not who you want to be. Self-awareness, because I'm always constantly looking and observing my own thoughts. Self-awareness, Devin would say, hey, that's not what we are. That's not who we are. That's not what we align to. Yeah. You're right. Nice job. Self-awareness. Caught myself. Now I can make a decision. Boom, to get into the next state, right? I can go for jump rope. For me is a great way to get in another state for me. I go 15 minutes hardcore on a jump rope. Woo, I'm in a completely different state after that. And all of a sudden life is a little bit different. So this is how mind, body, emotion in short order kind of connects. And then the last one, spirit, that's for you. That's what connects all this stuff. That's what makes it all worthwhile, right? Because when we need to, we can do for others more than we can do for ourselves. If you're depressed, the best way to get out of depression is stop the me, the I, the everything's happening to me all the time. You're really focused on yourself and how things aren't going well for you. And you go out and you start to focus and serve others. Then we start to feel in a different state when we're serving others. We start to get in a state of gratitude and servanthood. We feel happy when we're serving others, because we have this inherent need to be a part of a community, to have connection, to feel love and belonging. It's one of the 6 human needs. It's in the center of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, near the top. It's in, that cascades all the way back to Socrates' human needs, right? Tony Robbins has his own rendition of the 6 human needs. For me, this spirit bucket is all about connecting to something bigger than you, connecting to a company, a mission, a religion, a sense of gratitude that takes you out of your day-to-day, oh, poor me mentality, the world is happening unto me, therefore I must blame unto the world. That is called victim mindset. That's never going to get us anywhere. You know that. I know that. You're not a victim. I'm not a victim, right? But we get into those mindsets sometimes, do we not? The trick is, can you find yourself when you're in those mindsets, and can you pull yourself out? The best way to do that is first of all, emotional intelligence, or self-awareness of your emotions and where you are in your life. But secondarily is community, being connected to something that a collection of people believes in that's bigger than themselves. Burn is a very obvious example of this. We have a philosophy. Like, people that are outside looking in call Burn a cult. And I'm like, yeah, root word of culture. You go Google Burn Boot Camp, it's like, is Burn a cult? It's like, well, if a cult has a positive sense of the word, then you're damn right we are, because we're a collection of people that have this common language around a mission, around a belief. You have a leader that is out front and willing to say these things unapologetically, take a stance so that everybody else behind them, that's a part of that organization, can follow them. And that leader is connected to something bigger than themselves as well, right? That is the definition of a positive cult. If you want, I call a positive cult a community. I don't know what you call it. But you need a community. You need a daily belief, a daily connection to something that's bigger than you. And the reason this falls into the you category and starts to bridge into the next one, like after this now comes the relationships with other people, because this is a real connection with yourself. That's what spirit is. It's a connection with yourself and what you believe, and then finding other people that have those beliefs. Now you're in a place where people are like-minded. Okay. Now, I'm going to speed this up just a touch because I want to get you guys out of here, and you can ask me any questions on Instagram. We're going to move to the outer world. It's relationship, it's time, it's work, it's money. Remember, your relationship, first and foremost, begins in spirit with yourself. Know thyself. Know what you want, your goals, your desires, your challenges, so that you can find a community connected to something bigger that has your goals, your desires, your challenges in mind. Now, all of a sudden, people like us do things like this, and you belong somewhere, right? Think about Harley Davidson is another example of somebody that might not be like a Burn Bootcamp member. Like people like us do things like this. People that are Burn Bootcamp members desire to have this high level of fitness, desire to be the role model for their family, desire to lead the way in terms of their circle of influence, to be the health and fitness expert and the authority on health and fitness in their inner circle. So people like us are going to do things like this. We're going to take Burn Nutrition. We're going to buy Burn Bootcamp meals. We're going to watch our macros. We're going to focus on PRs. We're not going to have a rigid mindset. We're also going to allow the pleasures of life into our world. We're not going to eat artificial sweeteners and dyes and preservatives. We're not going to hop on the new trends. We're not going to do shots as a foundational remedy or pills or potions. We're going to eat, train, sleep, repeat, recover, whatever I said earlier, right? Like people like us do things like this. You follow me? Like people like us wear burn gear. People like Matt and I wear beanies. Our trainers like us wear, certain gear, certain shoes. Harley Davidson, people like them have leather jackets. They ride Harleys. They have mustaches. They think this way. They go to Sturgis, Michigan. All the things, okay? You have to find that community if you're going to ultimately have a maximized quality of life. A relationship with you, a relationship secondarily in order with your parents, or a reconciled relationship with your parents, then your spouse, then your children, then your brothers and sisters and your siblings, then your friends, or some order like that. It might differ depending on who you are. Okay, but we have to work through all of those things, and all of those people that we love the most in our lives is the underlying motivation of why we do all the you stuff in the first place. I don't know if you've ever seen YouTube videos where little grandmas who are like 90-something, they're lifting up cars, 2-ton cars, because their grandchild has a arm or leg stuck underneath it. They're out there. And there's crazy feats of strength that happen when you're doing something for somebody else. That's where the power comes in. That's where we get outside of ourselves and we start to be a contributor, contribution, another human need to our community. Really falls within spirit and then cascades into relationship. And then your relationship with time, right? Relationships cascade and then into time, the next one. Your time works for you. You don't work for time. You can fold time in on itself. Time is the human version of gravity. You ever been just thinking about something and you're like, oh shoot, where'd the time go? I just lost an hour there. I do this when I meditate all the time. I lose time. I'm writing a book. There's many times during writing Burn and Stop Starting Over where I'd be writing for 4 hours and I would wake up after a trance of writing for 4 hours and I would feel like, holy moly, it's like 2 a.m. Like, I got to go to bed. Like, this isn't good. You can fold time in. Time has to work for you. So we talk about having 168 hours in your week. What is your time allocation? Let's strategically allocate our time to align with our personal goals. And then you have the work, right? Because how you spend your time is most important. Now you've identified your relationship with your family. You're going to anchor your time with, number 1, your workout. Number 2, time with your family. Number 3, work. And work's going to take the majority of the actual time. Or passion. You can call this bucket passion too, but whatever you're showing, and I call it work because I want to call it what it is. Whatever I wake up every day and do for, in terms of going to work. What is my occupation? Okay, you can answer it that way. What is my passion? You can answer it that way. What is my business? You can answer it that way. What am I spending the majority of my time doing when I'm not focused on my friends, my family, or my person? Okay, identify your passion. And then finally, money. Money makes the world go round. And some people might just clip out like the money stuff that I talk about, and they make, Devin, no one wants to hear from you on money. My first question would be, you took a business from 0 to like lots of millions. And so you probably should want to hear some advice on money in the first place. And secondarily, you can't talk about a maximized quality of life without talking about money, because what money is a vehicle to freedom. What freedom is a vehicle to manipulating these daily rituals to, over time, dial them in to exactly what you want to do, when you want to do it, with who you want to do it, where you want to do it, how you want to do it, all the when, who, what, when, where. That is success. It's life on your own terms. And unless you do what I'm suggesting and have a daily habit that forms rituals in all of these categories, you're never going to get to a place where you're doing life on your own terms. You will always be a concoction of what life on other people's terms is, unless you take this seriously. So, this was an in-depth way to answer these 4 questions today. Thank you for being here with me for this hour and some change that we've spent together. Devin Klein on Instagram for elaborations, questions. Let me know. I'd love to just communicate with you directly. I'd love to bring those questions up here and answer them on the podcast. If you'd like to start doing so in video form, I'll prioritize any video form questions that come in. Chelsea, Jordan, and the production team will make sure that we get your beautiful face and energy here on screen for us, and you can ask me your questions that way. Who knows? They also might get picked up for our main segment here on, or main episode here on the Burn Bootcamp podcast, which is our HQ crew episodes, and we also take member questions there. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Leave a review on Apple. Remember, you can watch on Spotify. We were one of the top 5 most watched video podcasts of 2024 on Spotify. You can watch on YouTube, leave a review on Apple, and do one of those things right now. Right now, go do that. You can either go watch it, subscribe, leave a review, one of the things. Thank you guys. Love you guys. See you next time. 2 claps on 2. 1, 2.